Good morning, everybody. Hey, welcome to this Friday, the 4th of October. Hope you're having a great day. As we see where the markets flow from here, they've been kind of not much the last couple of days. We'll see where we end up today when the jobs number comes out, because that is a kind of important number we'll look at when Dave joins us here in just a few seconds. Before we do that, though, let's not forget that in this world we live in, there are so many things that are out of our control. However, you can take control of your investment portfolio by knowing the amount of risk you have versus the amount of risk you should have in that portfolio. Give us a call at 863-382-0037 to schedule your core retirement design.
105.7 Light FM. Hi there. All of a sudden, things are coming up roses on the markets this morning. This is kind of fun. We're at 8:42 now. Advisory services offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced and information provided in this material are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments are appropriate for you, please consult with a financial advisor. Second Half Financial Partners, LLC does not provide tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax or legal advisor regarding your particular situation, which in legal beagle language means we know what we're talking about here, but if you turn your life upside down based on a radio pro, you need help. Let's check in as what's going on the markets this morning. Phillip Statler from Statler Financial Services is here this morning. Phillip, how are you today?
Hey, good morning, Dave. Doing well today. It is Friday, the first Friday of October. You know, most of this week since we hit October, except for Tuesday, had really been just nothing much. You know, it's been a little this, a little that. And so the question is, where are we going to end up today? And when you talk about the jobs number, I will tell you the market liked it.
Well, I'm glad to know that. Yesterday, we were a little bit nervous between the dock workers' strike, which got settled pretty much at the end of the business day, at least temporarily. We'll get to that later. Plus concerns over what the jobs were going to look like. We ended up down about 0.4% on the Dow, down 185 books. Standard & Poor's was pretty close to flat, down 9.5. NASDAQ was down 6.5, but the Dow components were not particularly happy or trustworthy as far as what they were going to get. Well, this morning, all of a sudden, everything's coming up roses. We expected between 130 and 150,000 new jobs added last month in the economy. Report comes out, 254,000 jobs. The unemployment rate is now officially 4.1%. That's down from 4.2. And Phillip, the jobs numbers, not only did they beat big time, they revised both August and July up. August, they revised from 142 to 159,000 jobs, and they added about 60,000 jobs onto the July job creation report. My concern when we first got on the phone before we went on the air is the market referring to that as good news, bad news, or bad news, good news, and sounds to me like good news is good news this morning, right?
It definitely does, Dave. I mean, the markets, the futures almost doubled their gains when shortly after those numbers hit. So obviously the traders are liking what they're seeing.
Evidently, and they evidently are acting weird on the bond market off of that too.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I was really surprised because the 30-year Treasury went up almost 0.2% in yield, and that doesn't sound like a lot, but when we're talking about Treasuries, that's a big number. I mean, even the 10 years gone up by almost 0.2 as well. The 5-year actually went up by more than 0.2% this morning.
Which kind of means to me, because yields increasing means the bond price itself is going down, which means a lot of investors are selling bonds and getting back into equities, looking at what we're looking at this morning so far, aren't we?
Well, that seems to be the case, and we'll see. I mean, this could be a good day on Wall Street.
Could very well be. And another element, just to say that we're back to a return to somewhat resembling normalcy. My chart of the day says that year to date so far this year, our job creation numbers month by month are finally back down into the range that we were having before the COVID pandemic, way back in 2020. We were averaging about 177,000 odd jobs a month before the pandemic. Then, of course, after the pandemic, we started adding them like crazy, and things went through the roof. Now, year to date for this year so far, we're averaging about 184,000 jobs added to the economy each month, which basically means that we're starting to act normal. I don't know whether that's good or not, but we're at least approaching normalcy as far as the employment market is concerned.
Well, that's I guess that's probably good, right? That we're seeing. I mean, it's taken us 4 years to get there, um, but not everything's normal, right? Maybe that's normal, but interest rates haven't normalized yet, really. Inflation hasn't normalized. We still got a lot of things that have not normalized, Dave.
Absolutely, but at the very least, when you get down to the point where you can feel fairly confident that at least one macro that you're watching as an investor isn't going to surprise you big time, that's got to be good news. The thing that you and I have always said is that there's one thing Wall Street does not like, it's surprises and unpredictability, and at least one macro is at the very least getting down to quote unquote business as usual, which I'm kind of counting as good news because heaven knows there's enough other junk in the world that isn't going normal, right?
Well, that's true. That's true. We would like to get everything back to normal as we could.
Absolutely. Speaking of getting back to normal, the dock workers are back at work. There's all kinds of excitement about the strike is settled. No, they just came to an interim settlement that gets them into January. At least it gets us through the Christmas shopping season. But they got a big wage increase, and then there are issues that they've got regarding automation they agreed to put off until January. But the good news overall is that the docks are getting unloaded, and we have, let me say, I found a number. They had like 45 vessels that were already out there in line. Yeah, 45 container ships were unable to unload. So we've already got a line to unload at the East Coast docks, but at the very least, they're working again today, and that's got to give a little bit of assurance to the investment world out there.
Yeah, you got to wonder, are they going to work through the weekend? What are they going to do? Are they going to double up to get those things caught up? Because that's even though it's they're back going now, that's what, 3 days, 2 days of ships that haven't been unloaded.
Well, I don't know if I'm working at a 65% wage increase and then I get time and a half. I'd work on Saturday. How about you?
Well, yeah, but here's the way it worked. I did read the little blurb on it. So
Hmm.
here's what they're going to get: a $5 per hour raise every year for the next 6 years.
Now, that doesn't sound like much until you consider the fact that the average one's making like 100 and a half a year.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty big, pretty big
It's not a
bump.
It's not a bad way to. You're going to break your back doing it. I'm not taking a dang thing away from them because they work their butts off. But the wages are fairly high to begin with, and God knows they earn it. But $5 an hour doesn't sound like a whole heck of a lot on that. But they're going to increase it every year for the next 5 years. You say?
Yep, that's a $10,000 raise every year for the next 6 years.
Oh, life is tough all over, Phillip.
Yes,
Just
sir.
glad Just glad to have him back at work. Hey, out of the tidbits out there, Spirit Airlines is crashing this morning, at least financially. Rumors got out that they're negotiating with their bondholders with the threatened possibility of a Chapter 11 or Chapter 7, one or the other, as far as bankruptcy is concerned. That's not helping their stock one tiny little bit. And seeing a very active discount airline spinning toward bankruptcy, that's got to put some upset in all the travel stocks this morning.
Well, I'm sure I'm not going to say it is, Dave, because I'm looking. Spirit's down. Obviously, they're down 31%. But JetBlue, which they tried to get a deal together, but
Yeah.
the powers to be, I don't think would allow it. But JetBlue is actually up almost 5% this morning because I think they're sitting just waiting because if they file for bankruptcy, then the creditor is going to be looking for anybody to come buy them out, and JetBlue is probably the one right there waiting to swoop them up.
Now, also, there's a little bit of zero-sum mentality, too. I mean, we're going to fly someplace, and if the share of the market that Spirit had suddenly goes away, well, that can't be bad for the other airlines, can it?
Well, that's right. It can't be.
I can't think of the other tidbits out this morning. You were talking about NVIDIA's CEO yesterday. One of my columnists was starting to use the word stock manipulation in his stuff when this company went up by over 3% yesterday after Jensen Huang said that the chip level demand is so high it's absolutely incredible. Full production demand has been insane. One of my columnists was saying that sounds suspiciously like market manipulation. Can you say Elon Musk on steroids?
Yeah, that's quite, yeah, he did a good
When,
job of it, didn't he?
yeah, when you don't have your CFO on the same line with you and you start saying, boy, business is just gangbusters, we're going to really kick booty next month, and all of a sudden the investors go crazy and trade your stock up. Now if he sells some, we're really going to be worried about him. Other stuff going on. Oil is coming back up because the Asian Rim market is looking good, and everybody's nervous about our friends over in the Middle East shooting at each other. I'm not very happy at what I'm seeing this morning on the futures. Talk about uncertainty out there. International relations are certainly not on our list of predictable elements at the moment.
Well, that's true. I mean, we just keep on plugging, don't we, Dave?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
just isn't working in all corners of the economy, even though the employment market is looking better. Got any other tidbits this morning? I mean, it's kind of an active news day with a whole bunch of junk that's affecting our money.
Well, we do. I mean, we got that. There's really no earnings happening right now because we're so early in. Hopefully, some things will hit after the market today or first thing in next week. But we do have some things like Raven came out. That they're the electric truck maker.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of changed their guidance on vehicle production, and they're going to be about 8 to 10,000 vehicles less than was expected. That's got them trading down a little less than 7% this morning. So, and then the CVS deal, right? There's, they're trying to figure out how to break it up, and is breaking it up really the best thing to do, right? They're looking at, I mean, this trading up today about 2.2%, but they're still trying to figure out how they're going to do that and what makes the most sense.
Well, once you built the company around a big vertical integration model like they have, splitting it up, you kind of need to reinvent the whole dang country, the whole dang company. Even though it may not be the best decision, now you've built the company around that concept. What do you do when you break it up? Suddenly you're competing without the tools behind you that you'd expect to be a standalone.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be a process.
I suspect it will be. Resetting the table for the morning, it was a reasonably quiet day yesterday, except for the Dow's Blue Chip Index. They fell measurably. 45 minutes before the open was some really good news on the employment front this morning. How are we doing on the futures markets?
So let me update here, Dave, because if I don't hit the refresh button, I don't get the refresh number. So here's what we got. It's looking good this morning, Dave. Dow's up 0.6% on right now in the futures. The S&P 500 is up between 8 and 0.9%. The NASDAQ 100 is blowing it out at 1.25. And the Russell 2000 is even doing better than that, Dave, up 1.5% this morning before trading gets kicked off. On the other side of the coin, we do have a little bit of a retrenchment here on silver and gold. Silver's down 1.25%, still above 32 right now at 32.05. Gold's down about 0.75%. And then crude oil, Dave, is up substantially, up 0.4 right now from the close, but $74 a barrel compared to where it was yesterday at 71.80, I think, somewhere in that ballpark.
Nothing like uncertainty from our friends over in Iran shooting at each other over there. Overseas markets, the Asian Rim market was up at 6 a.m. and they closed up this morning. I double-checked as to why I was seeing so much of the same numbers out of China. The Chinese economy is on a holiday for this week. Starting on Tuesday morning, they closed down, so they're still showing a positive trend on the futures, but they are not open today again. Overall, though, the other economies were showing good market upgrades, but 0.25% to 0.5% in the Asian Rim. Europe is doing about the same thing. They're looking at us and they're going up. As a matter of fact, they just updated again. European indexes on balance up almost 0.5% halfway through their trading day. Getting a beat on a retirement and trying to plan for it is really important. That takes an extra pair of eyes. How do I get a hold of you to use your eyes?
David, give us a call at 863-382-0037 to schedule their core retirement design. And then join us this weekend for the Statler Financial Radio Show, 6 a.m. and noon on Saturday, 10 a.m. Sunday morning on Highlands News Talk, 7:30 a.m. at 95.3 FM.
And you and me again on Monday morning, same time here on Light. I do appreciate it, sir, and I'll see you then.
All right, man. You have a great day.
Thank you. It's 105.7 Light FM and Statler Financial Services, Phillip Statler.
And folks, again, I want to thank you for joining us today. Have a great weekend, and I look forward to speaking to you again next week. Until then, have a great one. Bye now.